Climate adaptation is the adjustment we make to prepare for the impacts of climate change. As temperatures and sea levels rise, there is a higher risk of hazards, like more intense hurricanes, flooding, heat waves, wildfires, and drought. To reduce these impacts, the United States and other countries are negotiating through the United Nations to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from vehicles, power plants, and other sources. But because the effects of those gases can be felt for years, a degree of climate change is already baked in, meaning some of those impacts are inevitable. In the face of that challenge, many governments and communities around the world are making plans to get ready. In the United States, for instance, the White House is trying to help prepare communities with transportation infrastructure that can better withstand climate impacts, and with electricity and fuel services that can be restored more quickly after an emergency. States like Louisiana are preparing for sea level rise by restoring coastal wetlands that can buffer floodwaters. And cities are in the forefront. New York, for instance, is reinforcing dunes and considering park-like levees to prevent flooding. Los Angeles is looking to the use of heat-resistant materials and more shade to prevent train tracks from buckling in extreme heat. And Portland, Oregon, is preparing public agencies to deal with the health impacts of smoke from increased wildfires. Preparations to face climate risk are also underway around the world. In the low-lying Netherlands, which has a long history of living with water, the port city of Rotterdam, for example, has a plan to make itself climate-proof by 2025. And in the Indian city of Ahmedabad, officials are developing a heat action plan to protect residents from the increase in deadly heat waves. But the cost of readiness is high. New York City's adaptation plan alone is expected to cost nearly $20 billion. Louisiana's coastal restoration work is expected to cost $50 billion. And the UN is trying to create a green climate fund of $100 billion per year, in large part to help poorer countries adapt to climate risk. Yet the costs of inaction would be even higher. One estimate suggests that in just the U.S., rising seas could result in coastal property losses totaling $250 to $500 billion by the end of the century, and major annual crop yield declines of 50 to 70%. Globally, studies have suggested climate change is already costing the world more than $1 trillion annually. To learn more about these increasingly important issues, visit us online.